Hello and welcome, my friends. I am going to start us off with a comfortable, basic standing position, settling into the most neutral, effortless posture that you can. Since we've been practicing for more than a couple weeks now, you should have some deeper sense of the space we're trying to settle into and your general level of softness and capacity to let go into the posture. Just a few minutes of basic standing position. Freeing up your neck so that your head is releasing upward as your neck and throat decompress. Your elbows sinking as the tops of your shoulders release, also letting go of the front and the back of the shoulder, softening all the way through, down to your hands and your fingers. Releasing your chest and your upper back. Softening your belly and your lower back. Your hips, your glutes, your thighs. Softening around your knees, behind your knees. Relaxing your lower legs and even your feet. Just one more minute. Let's take the time to deeply release, to slow down, to soften our breath. Not control the breath, but to soften any tension around it, the tendency to force it in and out. Allow your mind to slow down and to become a bit more quiet, more present. Your emotions to settle, to move toward calm, contentment. And then closing when you're ready. Taking the time to settle your awareness into that space between the navel and the spine as best you can. Staying here as long as required for you to actually feel a kind of settling into that space behind your navel. And as usual, I bid a warm welcome to those people who are finding me from around the internet. Melanie's in the background also waving hello. And since you are jumping into the middle of a 100-day series, you might find it a bit confusing, and so please do check down below for links that will guide you to the introductory set, or in the very least, day 1 of 100 for this particular series, and that might be an easier place for you to begin. And for everybody else, let's go ahead and begin circling your hands across the belly. Do you need me to move the lights? Okay. Gentle, slow circles with your mind settling inside. Both directions. Softening your abdomen, relaxing your core, softening around your breath. And when you're ready, slide your hands around the waist. Let's warm up the back a little bit. Softening the lower back, around the tailbone, all the way up and down. Keeping your shoulders soft while you do it. And this class might be a little bit shorter than usual, but anytime you're doing something that feels especially good, then just pause the lesson and take the time to do it until you feel like you've gotten out of it what you want. There's no rush. And then let's begin softening the sides of the neck, releasing open the opposite shoulder, moving your eyes if you'd like. And then settling into that left and right yin and yang movement. Arms settling alongside the body, releasing open the shoulder. Just a reminder for those of you that have been following the course, these series of lessons. In all of my 100-day series, I try to introduce basic knowledge and useful information about traditional Chinese medicine. And within this series, we're talking about the sinew channels, a particular layer of the body in the map from Chinese medicine. I'll be giving more specific information as we go along. And then, snake softening its sides like a wave. Make sure that you're not rounding forward or leaning back. Keeping your body upright, using all of the same good postural principles we've been picking up as we go. Softening the side of your neck. If you'd like, you can move your eyes. With all of these movements, there's an eye component if you have vision that needs a little bit of extra help. and then closing. So as I was describing in the 100-day series for the massage, the lung channel travels outward along the arm, along what is, for many people, kind of like the tan line between the darker and lighter skin, all the way out toward the thumb. And the sinew channels, as I mentioned, they're a bit wider and more expressive. We often think of them as starting in the fingertips. And so in this case, we think of it as starting in the thumb. It travels up, it swells, it's much wider than the other channels that we think of, and they attach at the joints. It swells, it attaches. Some of it comes up and through here. Much of it dives beneath into the chest, beneath the musculature here. And so this sinew channel is relatively broad and thin and superficial, so that is close to the surface. So we want to begin to feel those movements as we explore the practice. Let's start here with some pelvic circles. As you circle, just develop a little bit of awareness of this area that I was just describing along the lung channels. On either side, from the thumb all the way up through the joints to the chest, base of the neck, both directions. Tilting the pelvis all the way around. And then the larger circles. Softening in a circle. Avoiding gripping along the side or in the back. Don't clench your glutes as you move forward. Instead, soften your belly. And likewise, as you move backward, don't clench your abdomen. Soften your glutes. Soften your lower back. Both directions. And then the upper spine, the neck, a little bit in the upper chest, upper back. Full circles. Be very comfortable. Again, if you'd like, you can roll your eyes through the motion, as long as it doesn't make you feel dizzy. It's good to move the eyes through their full range of motion. Remember that in many ways, the eyes are considered the top of the spine, in the sense of movement and expression. And so it's useful to allow them to be part of the movement, but only if it leaves you feeling stable. Both directions. Continuously lengthening your cervical spine, so your neck is getting longer all the way around the circle. Don't fold it or crimp it or pull it down in any way. And then when you're ready, looking down between your feet, softening the base of your neck, the middle of your neck, the top of your neck, near your skull. And then as you look up, softening from the base of your throat, all the way up through your tongue, base of the jaw, up and down. Allowing your eyes to move, allowing your breath to comfortably take part. As you look up, allow a little bit of opening along the front of the shoulder, down to the thumb. Gently lengthening this long sinew channel that I'm describing. You don't have to try to do anything in particular, you're just softening open along that line, and that area will naturally stretch and spread. Closing. Hands resting on top of your navel. Awareness sinking inside. Let's do a little bit of shoulder release. Comfortable circles. I'm going to place the arm that is rotating in the back. The front leg and arm are relatively stable. We close toward that. We open away from it. As I open, notice again, just because we're talking about it today, this moment when the front of the shoulder opens and there's a lengthening from inside deep to the chest, down the arm, all the way to the thumb. The lung sinew channel. Both directions. Do what you can to create an image to try to help you remember that the thumb is related to the lung. Maybe just that it rhymes in English-ish. Soft rhyme, thumb and lung. Maybe you imagine going to a beautiful mountaintop with a lake or a river nearby and a waterfall, and the air is so fresh, and your lungs tell you, this is good air, and they stick their thumb, they give you 2 thumbs up for the air. It's the lungs. That's right. Same thing on both sides. Lung channel, sinew channel in this case, that we're talking about. We can talk about it beginning at the thumb, lengthening all the way up to the chest, the front of the shoulder, this opening space beneath, And as you soften open, it's not that you're just stretching open your pectoralis, but the spaces beneath, lengthening them open, making space, both directions. And then both shoulders at once. Again, noticing that moment when there's an opening and a lengthening through to the thumbs. Softening through. It's very important that the people who go through this full snake and turtle Qigong lesson plan, slowly cultivating these internal skills, as they move along, they should develop a very strong foundation and understanding of traditional Chinese medicine. And we're only doing it a tiny bit at a time, but there's no rush. But Chinese medicine is part of Qigong, so that some knowledge has to be developed as you learn. Both directions. I'd say probably the same with basic Taoist theory as well. It's very important to develop some basic knowledge of that as you learn Qigong. And if you want, there are some wonderful podcasts and recordings about that over on our Patreon channel. I don't make them public on YouTube, but there's a lot of information over there, including wonderful recordings with Millian and I talking about basic Taoist knowledge. And then alternating shoulders. Keeping the center line in a way more still so that you have something to circle around with your shoulders rather than turning your waist too far. So maybe my shirt, I'm not sure if it's moving at all, but center should be staying more or less in the same place. So I can rotate my shoulders rather than moving like this, because that then just doesn't let you move your body as much with it. Shaking your shoulders out just a little bit. Now, let's do a little bit of snake, softening its front and its back. Let's start with allowing the head to travel in a circle, gently extending through the neck, the jaw, the throat. And then begin to allow your shoulders to move with that same circle. That moment of softening open along the lung channel, lung sinew channel. And then gently continuing. Smaller and smaller. And then closing. Careful not to pull your elbows back against your sides, but keep all of this softened and open long. Trying to disinhibit the shoulders. Let's do a bit of preparation for black snake, and we can start by softening open the neck. And this one is particularly wonderful for emphasizing the opening along this lung channel. So if I turn my head up and over and down as though looking behind me, and at the same time I'm softening open deep in the front of my chest and along the front of my arm, this is specifically releasing that lung sinew line. Remember that you can only lengthen it by softening. If you contract by trying to use tension to force this process, you'll actually shorten everything and make it a little bit more stagnant. So the practice is all about creating movement and opening through letting go. And just do your best. This is a skill we will pick up as we progress. But I want you to know that the how of this movement is just as important as the specific technique. Always being very gentle with your body. If you find that it feels like it's too much, too big, too fast, take your time. Always stop when you need to. There's always that point of diminishing returns. We want to learn to acknowledge and appreciate that voice when our system tells us, that's enough. Otherwise, we will always be in our own way. Now we look down and up. And again, we're continuing to release a bit on the front, but you'll notice this is a slightly different space that is being lengthened open as you soften the front. This is another space as well that continues a bit deeper beneath in the chest. A couple more times on both sides, feeling the lung sinew channel lengthening open. Remember, these aren't things that you have to figure out. They're things you're already experiencing. They're part of your body. We're just trying to uncover them and then give them a name. Softening and shaking out a little bit. Take your time. And now let's do the tech neck posture, while embracing the mountain. Still only doing it 4 times, letting the head travel back into the hands into the head, continuously lengthening, vertically and horizontally. Don't compress. Remember, it's easy to do that. And then when you're finished, softening around the circle, lengthening outward, all the way down, soft and open. I will take off my headphones for the next part, but remember to continually soften and lengthen. Don't allow this to become something that causes more tension. It's so easy to push ourselves in a way that makes it worse, especially if we follow old habits. So try to find a new way through. That's what we're doing here. Always taking the time to feel settled. Don't skip over the settling. In live classes, constantly I'm seeing as soon as I do the closing and settle here, instantly people are off wandering around, unable to settle at all. So make sure you always take the time to wait. And even if your mind only gets quiet for 2 seconds, it's better than nothing. Your breath will get a bit more quiet, your body will soften further. You have to allow for that experience, otherwise you're missing out on a huge part of this cultivation. In a way, you could think of it as the most important part of this cultivation. Softening our shoulders, all the way up and over. Over the top of the head, leading with the hand in the tiger's mouth. Shoulder blade sinks down as your hand comes up, and it's as though your hand wants to travel behind your head. Again, not because you pull your arm back, but because that's the angle of releasing your shoulder. If you come up the side, keeping your shoulder dropped, your head is in the same comfortable place. Don't let your head come forward. I recognize that this is a difficult practice for people whose shoulders are stuck, but of course that's why we're doing it. And I just want you to know where it's going, where the shoulder releases and the angle of the arm continues through is very different than pulling your arm in front of your body. And then when you're ready, separating the sky and the ground. One more time, then closing. Remember to emphasize this moment at the end, when you release your lower hand, and you soften your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, your chest, your belly, your hips, your knees, your feet. Get good at this ability to send a wave of softness downward through your body, because it ends up being fantastically helpful over time. Closing. Let's do a little bit of black snake twisting around the tree. I'll take the headphones off again for this. Please make sure that you're not twisting your knees. And do have some extra bit of awareness on this line, the lung sinew channel, as you're opening and turning your body. We want to develop extra familiarity. Let's do a bit of prep work for white snake, sticking out its tongue. Remember that you want your hands not to go back, but down and around the circle. Lengthening your arm, make sure your chin doesn't go forward as your hands go down. Your chest lifts and sinks. Your lower back opens. Make sure that you're not leaning back either. And then with one foot in front, hands cross to help open your back. Softening your shoulder blades down, and then softening forward. And you can let your arm swing as long as it likes if it helps you release. But do notice, again, this extra lengthening that we're creating through here to the thumb. Feel it lengthen and open as you let go. If you can't place your awareness on both sides at once, then just focus on one side. Feeling the openness and throughness of this posture. Movement through the center of the body, out to the thumbs. We'll do similar explorations for all of the sinew channels. There's room here too if you need it. I have a really strong shadow. Making space for Mel to practice. And then when you're ready, at the bottom, shoulder blade sinks in the back, which allows this to open all the way to the thumb. Up and down. Shoulder blade sinks in the back, stays in the back, which is to say, don't let your shoulder come forward. Your chest rises, your chest sinks. And eventually as well, we'll talk about the passageways that go through the middle of the body, where this movement is also occurring. Both sides. Don't let your shoulder roll forward. Yeah, that's good. And then another one that is wonderful for emphasizing this particular lung sinew channel. Stepping wide, comfortably wide. Be very gentle if you have perhaps hip or knee replacements. Don't step wider than your body feels comfortable. Circling around, just as we've been practicing. Palms turn out, push outward and around. The palms moving away from each other. And here, as the shoulder blades sink, your palms begin to turn forward. There's a moment when there's an especially strong lengthening through here to the thumb. You release down. Just to practice this alignment. And again. Notice that moment when that particular line, that particular sinew channel is lengthened. You'll feel it happen if you're softening outward enough. Let's do it a couple more times. This embracing the tree. Closing whenever you're finished. Make sure that there's no tension being held in the chest. Melanie's in the back. She has improved a huge amount. Her skill level is shooting through the roof. But as we improve, we're able to feel more of our mistakes. And so one of the funny paradoxes, seeming paradoxes, is that as we get better, we feel worse because we can feel all the tiny misalignments and things that are happening inside. And so it's always useful to have people on the outside say, no, no, that's right. It just feels bad, but that's a good sign. So if that's happening to you, just know that it's possible that it's a sign of your healing because your awareness is increasing. Rather than being numb to your misalignments and blockages, you start to feel all of them, which can feel not great. But that's the beginning of the healing process because we can't heal where our consciousness isn't residing. So let's do some white snake. As your hands in your chest sinks, make sure that the crown of your head stays floating upward. It's easy to let your chin drop forward. It's not that kind of sinking. One foot in front and then the other. Remember that this and the next movement can be particularly tricky feeling, but all of this is available online in detail if you want to practice it separately. And as well, feel free to post your questions or comments or suggestions down in the box below for other people to share, because part of what we're doing here is building community, a community of learners. And so by sharing your thoughts and your feelings, you're adding to that particular healing process as well. So now let's perhaps do a bit of preparation for golden snake, opening deep shoulder lines and movements in the waist. And so we'll start with this emperor penguin roars out its challenge. First time you hear a penguin roar, you never forget it. Both directions. Remember that you're not going back, you're going out. So at this furthest extent this way, where it may look like we're going back, we're really just going outward. So as though someone was standing next to you and pulling your elbows out, lengthening outward away, including lengthening open that lung sinew channel. I just keep saying it to make sure that's spaced repetition. We want it to soak in. Shaking your arms out a little bit. Let's soften the waist here. Remember not to twist your knees. Drawing a path from the navel to the spine, and relaxing around. Turn the waist. If your waist barely moves, then don't let your arm go so far. It's okay just to let it stop in front of the hip and then circle around. But we do want to develop the ability to turn the waist, to let the navel move, the hips stay basically where it is. And don't worry, we'll have a whole 100-day series on softening the waist as well. We just introduce it here, both sides. You can also practice opening and closing. So again, this side is staying relatively stable. I'm turning away from it, returning toward it. This is part of developing what we call opening and closing, which we will definitely work on in the future. And then releasing along the side of the body. The arm up, leading with the fingers, back of the hand, smoothing down the side of the body. And we let go completely, and then coming around. So the most important points are at the bottom, where we lengthen and soften, and then here at the top, where we lead with the fingers and release our shoulder. Crown of the head continually floating up as we soften our neck. Both sides. So here at the bottom, as we lengthen open, there's a moment where we pass through where this whole line is open. You don't want to skip it. If it's just your elbow turning or something, you'll notice that it doesn't reach your arm. But if your whole arm opens and your chest opens, then that entire sinew line will be softened and lengthened open. It will express itself, we can say. And this allows for a particular kind of change in the body. But it has to be through softness, not through force. A little bit of flower hiding beneath the leaf. Again, notice that point, that moment that you pass through where these are lengthened, equally on both sides. Opening the lung sinew channel. It's just a moment, a stage, but you want it to be fully released open. Nothing's twisted or disconnected. And it happens at the same time on both sides for this practice. Both directions. Once you develop awareness of it and you can feel it opening, you'll notice, oh, there's a moment. I feel that all the way from my thumb to my chest. And it's easy to lose it if my hand is flipped over or my shoulder is lifted. So it's a wonderful momentary marker to know if your practice is moving right. Closing. Can you feel it? Yeah, okay. Good. Thirsty day. It's still been very hot up here. Which is why I apologize we have the air conditioning on. I know it's loud. Hopefully cooling off for the rest of the week. So, now that we've been practicing this set for exactly an hour, we jump into the golden snake. Everything is warmed up, all of these spaces are open and pliable, and so golden snake asks all of them to be made use of, including, of course, this lung sinew line. So let's try it. As before, slightly wider stance. Circling. Opening. Notice there's a moment here where you open and it lengthens all the way through from the thumb to the chest. And then this same movement practiced before. Leading with the fingertips, palm up, as though holding tea out to the side in the most awkward way possible. Palm all the way up. That's it. And then softening around your waist, keeping your neck long. Make sure that you continue breathing all the way around, as though holding the tea without spilling it. Same thing, holding your tea, make that circle around the waist we were practicing. Don't twist your knees. Coming out to the side, holding tea in the awkward way, and then one last circle, staying relatively upright, and we return, holding tea the right way. Let's change sides. Bending your waist. I know this is a difficult one for some people, and so don't give up. Remember that if you need help, feel free to ask questions, watch the other videos about it, or just write to me directly, and I'll see if I can help walk you through it. Move at whatever speed feels comfortable, especially once you know the movement. You may want to linger in the places, for instance, where you feel that lung channel softening. Wait until you feel the full length of it opening, and then continue. That's an okay way to explore this. Or if there's a tight spot in your shoulder or your neck, be gentle and go extra slow through those tight spaces so that you're not pushing into them or fighting through them. Instead, find a soft and gentle way through or around that blockage. Let's do it one more time on either side. If you want to do more, of course, feel free to pause the class and do as many as you enjoy. No need to follow me. Every practice of yours should look and feel different. because you are different. Closing when you're ready. Let me just pause for a moment here. In each class also I've been making recommendations about ways to help you soften your neck and shoulders, whether it's liniments or oils or specific tools. And I would also like to point out that for many people, neck and shoulder tension is a very common outcome of emotional tension, especially frustration, anger, even rage, that direction of emotion, guilt, shame. When those things come along, we tend to grip our neck and our shoulders and tighten our jaw. Our blood constricts in a different way. Everything is adjusting in our body, from our vessels to our eyes to our mind. And if you are one of those people, and as you think about it, you say, hey, yeah, I guess I am somebody who carries a lot of those emotions around with me. Maybe that's why my neck and shoulders are tight. Then, along with these practices and meditations and other things that you practice, make sure that you deal with those things directly, sometimes by locating a therapist who deals with anger management methods. There's a lot of ways to heal. And do recognize that if that is one of your imbalances, then you don't want to ignore it. You want to deal with it directly. And then you will notice that your neck and shoulders heal as well, because this is all part of the same healing pattern. Let's do some opening the sky, closing the earth. Full circles. Again, noticing this moment where the lung channel is open and spread to the thumb. Both directions. And again, closing when you're done. Let's do some preparations for turtle drinking tea. Comfortable circles. Opening the throat, opening the back of the neck. avoid compressing your throat or compressing the back of your neck. It's not what we're doing. We're lengthening all the way through, letting go and lengthening. And then gently allow that wave to travel down the body. And then let's practice softening the back, letting the hips travel backward, back and back and back, lengthening your spine, crown of the head extending as you lengthen your neck, and leading with your hands on the way back up. Hips come forward, don't lift your back. Softening open the front of the body without collapsing your lower back. And then again. Make sure that it's the hips traveling backward and you're folding from the hip joint rather than rounding your back. And only go down as far as feels comfortable with that. Being extra careful, again, I'll just always remind people in case we have new folks joining us. Whenever you're dropping your head below the level of your heart, you're folding or compressing your abdomen, you want to be extra gentle, especially if you have hypertension, maybe you're pregnant or you have weak arteries, so you don't want to compress them or cause tension through the belly. Please be gentle and respectful with your body. And then when you're ready, let's combine these into the turtle drinking chi. Softening down. Hips traveling back, lengthening your spine, then opening the back half of your spine, rounding out as though you're trying to touch the tip of your head to the tailbone, the top of your head to the tailbone, and then leading with the tip of your nose on the way up, opening the front of the body, waving down. Let's just do this 4 times. This one always helped a great deal with my neck pain. Lengthening. This moment when I spread open the back of my spine and then lead with my nose around the circle, lengthening the front of the body without closing the back. Always relieved a great deal of pressure for me in my neck. So hopefully it does something similar for you, but always be cautious. Just spend a minute settling into basic Wu Chi standing. Notice the changes that have been made as your joints soften, open, lengthen. Even in this basic position, it is possible to learn to soften open that lung sinew channel just while you're standing here by letting it go. And you feel the body stretch open. And eventually, as your body fills with qi, it's these lines that, much like the sail on a sailboat catches the wind and spreads out, the body fills and opens from the inside once we nourish our qi and we have these lines open. Very useful skill to develop. Takes us into deeper practices in the future. I will take my headphones off for the next part. We're going to warm and massage the body and then vibrate and shake. Take your time emphasizing any place that needs a little extra help. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you joining me. Enjoy your practice. I'll see you here tomorrow. Keep up the good work. Melanie says hello in the background.